Howdy, howdy do, Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And this is episode 320.
Yes.
One day, I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. Until then, there must be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine.
Our lives are different to anybody else's. That's the exciting thing. Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
You may be a doctor, but I'm the doctor. The definite article, you might say.
The trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear, and it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
I am the Doctor!
For now, for this moment, I am the Doctor again.
The ground beneath our feet is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, and the entire planet is hurtling around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour, and I can feel it. We're falling through space, you and me.
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
I could be a curator. I'd be great at curating. I'd be the great curator. I could retire and do that.
I'm the Doctor. I've lived for over 2,000 years, and not all of them were good. I've made many mistakes, and it's about time that I did something about that.
Bit of adrenaline, dash of outrage, and a hint of panic knitted my brain back together. I know exactly who I am. I'm the Doctor. Sorting out fair play throughout the universe.
Howdy, howdy do, Doctor Who fans. Welcome back to another week. This is episode 320. I hope you're all keeping safe and healthy. Hope you've had a cracking week and that you've managed to do something Doctor Who related.
Oh, gosh, I love the mark there. Doctor Who related. Oh,
missed it.
Doctor Who related, yeah.
Missed it, mate. 320 is upon us. It's a quiet one, though. No news this week.
No.
Now that the BBC has released its biannual bit of news, it seems. That's it now for a while, I think. I don't think we're going to get much else until we get closer to Series 13 dropping.
Yeah, that's what I reckon.
I think so. Yeah. So it is very quiet on the old news front. We haven't got anything to talk about. I did see a couple of newspaper reports where they've added another couple of names into the mix for who's going to be the next Doctor.
Sue Pollard?
Isn't that...
I keep seeing that name going around. It's with
the glasses.
High.
High.
Only a listener of a certain age will know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Oh dear. I think Michael Sheen is the one that everyone keeps talking. I mean, he would be great. I can't see it happening, mind. Not at this point in time. But I think maybe in the future, or he would have been great, for example, when Matt left, somebody like Michael Sheen. I think he'd be a great Doctor. I would love to see him be the Doctor, but I think at the moment I can't see that happening with the show. I think people want a certain Doctor. I don't know. I don't think he fits the mould that they're looking for at the minute. But yeah, he would be awesome. Maybe in the future.
Yeah, he is pretty cool.
Yeah.
The Sheen. Yeah.
He's in that other thing, isn't he, with your mate, Mr. Tennant, David Tennant. What's it called? Good Omens. Did you watch that one?
Oh, Good Omens. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
David Tennant and Michael Sheen. Yeah, they were good together in that. I could totally see him in the Doctor.
Yeah, they would be good.
They're doing a second series of it, actually.
They are, yeah.
I see, yeah.
Very good beard at the minute.
Yeah,
Michael
good
Sheen.
beard.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good beard.
Very good.
Got a Welsh beard.
Yeah, a bit of Welsh beard, I know, But yeah, it's, so we had that name thrown in, Michael Sheen, and then we've had some showrunner names now that Chibbers has been fired. We've now got a couple of other people. So the only name that stands out for me is somebody called Sally Wainwright. Now, her name popped up before Chibbers was announced and Jodie's era kicked off. Her name was in the mix before, actually.
Was it? Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, so her name's come back up again to replace the Chibinator when he goes. She's the writer that's done, Happy Valley, that's been on for a couple of years now.
Oh, yes, I watched that, yeah.
She's
with
behind
Sarah
that
Lancashire.
one. Sarah Lancashire, yep. And Gentleman Jack, and a couple of other things as well.
Anything sci-fi? Or?
Last Tango in Halifax was another one, which did reasonably well, but nothing. I can't think of anything sort of sci-fi.
No, so I was trying to work out what's led her to be thrown in the mix. Is I mean those programs are good. I watched Happy Valley. I remember it's a good series, but I didn't watch that and think, God, whoever's produced this would be a cracking showrunner of Doctor Who. I just wonder, but has she done any sci-fi stuff?
No, I don't think so. I don't think that's been her wheelhouse up to now. She has done well.
I mean, not that you have to. It's not a.
No, of course not. No. But she's done. I don't think anything sci-fi, mate. No, It's all been sort of drama-y, just drama stuff. And I think she did back in the early 90s when she started. She did the rounds of the soaps and stuff. So she did Emmerdale and Corrie.
Oh no,
that kind of stuff. But then after that, she's gone in and progressed up until now.
I'm saying that because I don't like the soaps. That's the only reason I'm saying. Oh no, I'm not a soap fan at all.
Yeah, but she's.
You reckon she might be good? I don't really know who she is.
So yeah, I think the good thing with Sally Wainwright is that as her career has, I don't know much about her work in great depth, but from what I've read very, very quickly, after I saw her name that was thrown into the mix, her career has really expanded as she's progressed. So back in the early 90s when she was doing some soap stuff, she was literally just hired as a writer to do, the odd episode here and there in the mix of other writers. But as she's gone on, she's then created her own programs. So things like, what was one of them? The Amazing Mrs. Pritchard, Scott and Bailey, another show called Bonkers. She's created them, but then she's also produced them, and now she's a director as well. So for the last since 2014, she's been credited as writer, producer, director. She's done the whole bag.
I see.
So I think from that point of view, that probably puts her in good stead.
Yeah. Wow.
And let's face it, Chris Chibbers, old Chibinators, lifelong Doctor Who fan, his era wasn't amazing from our point of view. So does she need to have any? So
No. And as I said, she doesn't need to have a background. No, it's funny because I never feel bad about criticising Chibnall, but for the sheer fact that because of he felt quite entitled to rip into Pip and Jane Baker back in the day, and that infamous clip of him where he was saying, it was boring and it was a lot of running around. I think, he was pretty, happy to give as good as he got. So, I never feel too bad about criticising Chibnall, I'm afraid.
Cool.
But it'd be interesting to see who we get. It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, and then the other tiny bit of news, not really worth firing up the TARDIS to land and do it properly, but John Barrowman has been added to Wales Comic Con, which is an interesting one. So that's I'll be interested to see how that plays out because, as we know, we haven't spoken about it in depth here on the show, but as everybody knows, there has been some controversy with old Barrowman over the last year. Is it now 10 months to a year, something like that? And and he's been very not so much quiet on his social media, which is weird. He still rock that fairly regularly and unapologetically just kept going on his socials and stuff. But he certainly hasn't been announced for any kind of media events or has announced any new programs or anything like that. And they cut him obviously from the interactive stage show thingamajiggy.
That's right. And Big Finish dropped that audio, didn't they? Yeah.
Oh yeah, and Big Finish dropped as well. So it's been a bad kind of. I mean, from the outside looking in, you wouldn't really know it if you follow his Instagram still and stuff like that. You wouldn't really know it from his point of view. But yeah, so this is the first time that he's going to be out in public since all of that stuff happened, and he's just doing the same stuff. It's all the meet and greet stuff, the photo ops, and all that. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how that goes down because, I mean, I know a lot of fans have kind of, how can I say it, feel disappointed in him. So I don't know. I mean, if me personally, I wouldn't be interested in meeting him at this point. Not because, I mean, that's stuff that, you know, everybody knows about that's been kicked off. I mean, that's been sort of out there in the ether for a while, but it's just the way he's handled himself since I've not been very impressed with. And that tweet he put out about the film that he was disappointed in, and he tagged the director and demanded a refund. I just thought that was really poor. So I kind of just looked at it and thought, yeah, he's kind of like, I used to love, I mean, I still like the character of Captain Jack, and I used to think Barrowman was cool. He was like Mr. Showbiz or whatever, but yeah, he's gone down in my estimations a bit, I've got to be honest, so I wouldn't be too, I met him years ago, I got a cool photo with him somewhere, but yeah, personally, I wouldn't be too bothered about meeting him, but it's nice for anybody that does.
Yeah, no, read you. I have to say though, mate, Wales Comic Con, every single year, I tell you what, that's the event. That's the event to go to these days, mate. I reckon. I've never been, and their lineup is it? If I'm thinking of the right one, is it the one with Matt, Karen? Have they got David? I don't know. Well, I was having a look through when I saw this news about John Barrowman last night. I jumped onto the website and thought, I'll have a quick looky, see what they're doing these days. So this is the one that's coming up in November. So this is the weekend of the 20th and the 21st this year. So it's in Telford. So, yeah, very loosely Wales. That's nearly as bad as when we used to go to the Slough one, and they used to advertise it as Windsor. Yeah. It's like, because it sounds so much nicer. It's like, this is Windsor, this is Slough. I read you. Yeah, so I had to look through the guest list, and mate, they have absolutely smashed it this year. Wow. So we've got Karen Gillan. Oh, yes. She's there representing not only Doctor Who, but she's a big star now. So she is. The Avengers from Marvel and all that stuff. Yeah. Loads of Star Wars peeps, which I come on to. Loads of people from Lord of the Rings, but Billy Piper's there. Billy, yeah. Yeah, loads of people from the Harry Potter films. Jason Isaacs, you know, from that film and Star Trek and stuff. Mm-hmm. If you're into your classic TV, we've got loads of people from Stargate and Star Trek. Loads of people from the Buffy programme. Arthur Darville's there. Oh, cool. Representing his Marvel stuff, as well as, you remember the programme Gotham that was on the Batman series? Yes, so Sean Pertwee, he's going to be there with loads of other people. David Bradley's there. Oh, nice. Julian Glover, loads of people from Game of Thrones. Loads of people involved in animation. And then we've got Kai Owen, Gareth David Lloyd, Naoko Mori, all from Torchwood. Mm-hmm. We've got McCoy, Davison, Colin Baker, Paul McGann. They're all there. Wow. It's going to be an awesome one, dude. And then... is it Matt Smith there, or is that something else? Matt Smith's not at this one. Oh, okay. But but really good representation from Doctor Who and some other good franchises. And they haven't finished announcing guests yet either. So... it's going to be a good one. That's for me, that's the one to go to, because it's in a slightly better venue than LFCC. That wouldn't be hard. I must admit, I'm holding off buying any tickets to cons at the minute. I'm just so, because you can't get your money back. You know, it rolls over if they cancel. It just rolls over to whenever they reschedule it. I just literally won't buy anything till the very last second right now, apart from Phantom events, because they've got their stuff together there. They've got a system going, so that's very unlikely they'd cancel. So they're quite safe. But any of the big ones, I'm like literally the night before I might get a ticket. But yeah, it does sound good. It does, mate. That's a good lineup. Yeah. Don't know how I'd get to Telford, mine, but yeah. Like I said, it's loosely named Wales Comic Con. But anyway, Barrowman's going to be there. They haven't added him to the website just yet, but he's going to be there. So that will be... I mean, on the Facebook page that Wales Comic Con did for it, there was loads of comments on it, about 130 odd comments the last time I looked. And I have to say, I didn't see that there weren't any negative comments anyway. Oh, really? Yeah, pretty much all of them that I read through said, I can't wait to meet him, glad he's back on the scene, blah, blah, blah. So I was going to say, I only looked at Twitter, which I should have known better, but Twitter is the absolute opposite. It's absolutely full of people who don't want him there. So, yeah, it's very much the other side of fandom. Fandom, indeedy. So that's, we've got no proper news to talk through, but tell us about your book and your reading. Come on.
Yeah. So I was saying to Gary before we kicked off, I finished the Elizabeth Sladen biography last night, and it's brilliant. It's such a good biography. Normally when you get, a biography, they take so long to get to the bits you're interested in, don't they? So you'll have a few chapters about where they grew up, and then they sort of detour on about their family, and you're like, yes, it's all good, but tell me about Doctor Who. Not this one. It just flows so well. It's the way she's written it. So you do sort of learn all about her and her family, but it's pretty much the whole book's about her time on Doctor Who. So I didn't find myself thinking, God, I hope she, like Eccleston's book, for example, which was great, but there's hardly any Doctor Who in it. And even Tom Baker's biography, there's minimal Doctor Who mentioned in it. But this one, it's pretty much her whole biography. She just talks about her time on Doctor Who and the convention circuit, and obviously Sarah Jane and K9 and Company. It was just, honestly, I could not, every time I finished a chapter, I just wanted to continue, because she'd sort of finished talking about John Pertwee, for example, and then she'd be like, I'd turn the page, like I'm at the end of that chapter, and the first word you'd see would be like, so Tom Baker, and I'd be like, oh no, now I want to hear about his stories with Tom Baker, but it's 12:30 at night, I'll have to finish it tomorrow. It's just one of those books, mate, that I just loved reading from start to finish. And the interesting thing for me was, because I didn't know if she got on with John Pertwee or not, because I knew that she was really fond of Tom. I knew that her and Tom got on well, but because the chemistry was never quite the same with Pertwee, I wasn't sure if they got on with each other, off screen. And she really talks a lot about John in this, and that was what I found really interesting, was to learn about their relationship, and how she adored John, even though at times he drove her absolutely mad. She just loved him, but he could be quite full on. And the way she describes it, you can just picture the scene. And it's so well written. It's actually written by her, so it's it's not sort of somebody writing her biography. It's actually written by Liz Sladen. I just can't recommend it enough if anyone hasn't read it or whatever. Because when I posted the picture of it, the tweet went mad. People were like, "Is this new? Where can I get this?" And I'm like, no, it's been out years, and it's been sat on my shelf years waiting to be read. I bought it when it first came out, and I don't know why it's taken me so long to read it. But no, it's been out for a long time. I think when you last looked it up, they've changed the cover slightly on it as well since I bought it. So I just can't recommend it enough. And you would love it, because it talks about, when she started a school reunion and meeting Tennant and going for a meal with Russell and Phil Connison, and them sort of persuading her to be in it, because she really wasn't sort of sure about coming back to Doctor Who, and all that stuff. And then it leads right up to Sarah Jane, of course, and talks about, that's the sort of last part of the book, is talking about Sarah Jane adventures. But it's a really honest and frank biography. Really, really great book. So really recommend that. I just kept thinking of you, because we both loved Sarah Jane as well. Just, there were so many bits in it where I was thinking, sort of almost imagine turning to you and nodding and going, yeah, agree with that, I know what she means by that, and that, stuff she was saying. Really, really good book. And the other thing I've done is I listened to a little audio book the other day. This is a strange one. So did you see this it's just come out, and it's called Doctor Who Bessie Come Home, and it's a little audio book, and it's written by Paul Marks, never sure how you say his surname, and it's told from the point of view of Bessie. I thought, well, how's that going to work? This sounds a bit, it's just, is it a gimmick? Is it, how's that going to work? It's really lovely. It's really, really cool. It's about just over an hour long, and it is told from the point of view of the car, which sounds strange, but without going into sort of too much detail, it really works. So Stephanie Cole voices the car. She sort of tells the story. She's brilliant. I couldn't place the name at first. She used to be in a TV series called, was it Waiting for God? She was like the grumpy old granny.
Sounds familiar. Yeah.
I think it's her. I think it's her. I hope I'm right in saying that. Yeah, she's brilliant. And it kind of goes through the Doctor's stories, but integrates them into a story. And it's really touching. I can't really explain it. It's one of those things you just have to hear it. There was a little bit where I found myself getting emotional. I was like, this is ridiculous. It's just an audio book, but it's just charming. It's such a lovely story, and it's really well written as well. So I gave that a listen. So I've had quite a nice couple of days, really, doing a few Who bits, and I've just watched the new 9th Doctor trailer that dropped from Big Finish this morning.
Oh,
Have you seen that yet?
Yeah, I watched that this morning.
It's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's got me buzzing for that. I might try and give that a listen later on. But the trailer's awesome. They are knocking it out of the park with their trailers lately. Big Finish. Not to mention the artwork they're coming out with. They're kind of, for me, they're keeping things going. They're doing some great stuff in a minute.
As always, yeah.
Yeah, but that's a cracking trailer.
Sorry, Big Finish, yeah. No, it's a great trailer. I love those YouTube ones where they go all out and, the graphics and just the production's just always, like you said, knocking it out of the park. Yeah.
Chris's voiceover is really cool on it. Like he's sort of giving this little speech over the top of it. It's really, really, really good. Yeah. I'm just Googling Stephanie Cole, 79. Oh, I don't mean to be rude. I thought she was older than that because when she was in Waiting for God, was that what it was called? She looked quite old in that, unless she was made up to look older than she was. But yeah. I was talking about this the other day with somebody, not about that particular person, but with some actors, it's really strange, isn't it, that when we were younger and we used to watch movies or TV shows, that person was old back then. Yeah.
And now we fast forward in time to the current time, and they're still old. It's really weird. Someone like Tom Selleck, we were saying that back in the day when he was in some of those cheesy films, like Magnum P.I. and
Three Men and a Baby,
Three Men, a Little, whatever it is. He looked, especially those ones, 3 Men and a Baby and stuff. He looked sort of old then. You thought he was in his 50s, and then you fast forward 30 years, and he's not 90 odd, obviously, but he's still. He's old. It's really weird that some people look old. Maybe they just looked more mature than what they were back in the day.
Well, I don't know. People, like John Pertwee, he always looked not old, but he always looked sort of the same age because he had that sort of white hair, didn't he? He's like one of those people that just seem to stay looking the same.
Yeah,
so he looked old when he was young, I think, if that makes sense.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it's
just
weird.
Just had that look about him. Yeah.
Strange times. But yeah, that book sounds really cool, dude. I need to pick that up.
I genuinely, when I finished, I just thought Gary would love this, and I know a lot of our listeners would, because it's just a lovely, and the fact it's written by her as well. So it's very frank. You can just imagine Liz actually saying it. I don't know if there's an audio book of it. I'd love to hear her actually reading it. I'll have to check on that. There might be, but you can just hear it in her voice, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like when she's telling John Pertwee off, you can just sort of hear her saying it, not telling him off, but when she's sort of putting him in his place at one point, you just think, I can hear her doing that, and him going, "Oh, sorry, Lizzie," and because he keeps calling her Lizzie all the time and stuff. You can just sort of hear it. It's brilliant. Yeah, some really nice stories in it. Really nice. What do they call it? Anecdotes? No.
Oh yeah.
True stories. Yeah. Stories that are true. I don't know. Yeah, really nice bits in it.
Yeah, nice, man. Yeah, I'll pick that up at some point. Yeah. So that's been your week. I've not done anything this week, dude. Not had time to do Who related stuff.
No.
This week, nope. No Who stuff for me. So we can move on. Nice and easy for me. So before we crack on with our review, remember to subscribe or follow us on whatever podcast app you listen to your podcast on. That way you won't miss a show when they land every single Friday. Some people have got in touch to say that our last episode from last week wasn't visible in Apple Podcasts or iTunes. Yeah. So apologies for that. I'm not quite sure what's happening with that. It's on there now. It only showed up last night, weirdly, our latest app on there. So I got in contact with Apple as usual. They were useless. Couldn't really give me any help other than it just sucks to be you, doesn't it? That kind of thing. So nothing there. So I'm not sure what's happening with that. So I'll keep an eye on it and start beating them up a bit more if it happens again. But yeah, whatever app you listen on, just do a search for us. You'll find us on there, or there are links on the website, which is www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to all of our shows on the website as well, all for free. So go and check those out, and also check out our really cool reviews and articles from our team. We've had a slew of them that went live recently. So Jordan's been rocking and rolling this week. And so that was on Monday. He put up his review for The War Doctor Begins, the Forged in Fire story from Big Finish. Sounds pretty good. And then yesterday, on Tuesday, it was another Big Finish review. It was The Lady Christina, Series 2, an interesting one, that one. And then today, this is Wednesday the 11th, he put a book review. That was The Legends of Camelot book review with David Tennant on the front with the 3D glasses and the Sonic looking very Knights of the Round
Those 3D
Table.
glasses again. I always think about what you said, how he only wore them that one story, and they always get used, don't they? Yeah,
it's weird. Very weird. And then our brand new writer, Harry, he's put a new article out today as well. And this is, it's like a bit of some information from the other side of the coin. So listeners will know that we've been relatively critical of Chibnall's era. We're not the biggest fans. We don't hate it, but we're not the biggest fans of it. Whereas Harry has put an article together to say, actually, Chibnall era is actually pretty good. So his article is called "In Defence of Chibnall Who." So that's an interesting take on Harry's thoughts on that. So give that a listen. Give that a read, sorry.
And do give it a read, because we've sacked him now that he said that. No, we haven't. How dare you disagree with us, Harry?
Yeah, so welcome aboard, Harry. A very cool article to kick off your time on the Big Blue Box. That's very cool. And then tomorrow, yesterday, if you're listening to this on launch day, Jordan's put another review out. This is he's picking up the old Virgin Adventures books from back in the day. Yeah. So he's reviewed a couple of them. So he's reviewed Strange England and First Frontier.
Ooh,
so,
God, where does he find the time for all this stuff, Gary?
Right, I'd love to.
Time Lord,
Jordan, if you could,
Lord. I know he is.
If you could throw a few more hours over our way, Jordan, in a day, that'd be awesome. Thank you. So, loads of cool content on the website. All of the podcast episodes, all of the reviews and articles. Go and check it all out. We're on the socials too, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook, links on the website. Come and give us a follow there. We've got a free Discord server as well. Sign up and come and hang out with other Doctor Who fans. Lots of chat on everything to do with Doctor Who over there. New episodes, conventions and events and stuff, merchandise, Big Finish, the whole shebang. And lastly, we cannot forget.
No, I won't let you forget.
We cannot forget the epic YouTube channel content from Adam, of course. It's called The Geek's Handbag.
Geek's Handbag, yes. Go and have a look at my YouTube channel. Loads of cool vids on there.
Go and check it out.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Adam's on the socials too, so go and stalk him and chat to him on the socials under the same name, The Geek's Handbag. So go and check all that stuff out. Right, dude. Hit us up with a review. What we got?
Yeah, so we're delving into Matt Smith's era with the second part of season 7. And this one's called The Bells of St. John.
Clara Oswald.
Who are you? Why are you here?
Because we must be hell of a target right now.
What is that thing?
There's something living in the Wi-Fi, harvesting human minds.
He's here.
You and me inside that box now.
I'm sorry?
The people of this world will not be controlled.
Please tell me what is happening!
Doctor Who on BBC One and BBC One HD.
On BBC One HD, no less.
Yeah, and that bassy theme, bom, 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 which we never got released. Bom, 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 bom.
Bom, 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 bom. Yeah.
I reckon, do you think Murray just didn't like that theme or what? Just strange how he never released that. So we did get a soundtrack for Series 7, didn't we?
Yeah,
that wasn't on it, no.
Because they changed the theme very slightly as well from the beginning of Series 7.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, there's some very slight variations in it.
Oh.
Yes. Anyway, The Bells of St. John. It was first broadcast back on the 30th of March in 2013. 45 minutes long, written by The Moth Bag, directed by Colm McCarthy. Stars Matt Smith and Jenna Coleman. Or Jenna Louise Coleman.
Oh, she's still doing that at this point, yeah.
Oh, she is. What's she known as these days? Is it Louise?
No, that's what I meant. Back then, she still used the Louise, didn't she? Which she dropped.
Oh, she dropped. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. And synopsis is London, present time, for the time, 2013. Danger, this is a warning to the whole world. You're looking for Wi-Fi. Sometimes you see something a bit like this. Guy holds up a sign. Don't click it. Do not click it. Anyway, that's the quote. When Clara Oswald has problems with her internet, she's given a telephone number. The number of the best helpline in the universe, quote unquote. When the doctor answers at the other end, Clara is pulled into a life of adventure and mystery. But danger is lurking in the signals, picking off minds and imprisoning them. It's like immortality, only fatal. But can the doctor save Clara before I don't know where I am? Lots of quotes in that synopsis. Yes. Right, man. I know this is going to be an interesting review, this one. Series 7 is always a talking point. So, dude, kick us off. What do you think of the bells of St. John?
St. John. Yeah, it's Series 7 is an odd time, isn't it? You know, this split that we got. And I'm looking at the episodes we got in the second half as well. And God, it's a bit of a mixed bag, isn't it? But yeah, Bells of St. John. It's enjoyable, but also very forgettable. I watched it again last night, and I remember thinking this, that, you know, when it aired back in, when was it? 2013. I remember when it finished thinking, that was fun, but I'm looking forward to, you know, it didn't leave any impression on me really. And it's not an episode I go back to very often at all. It seems to be, it's one of those that's enjoyable to watch. If it was on the TV, I'd quite happily sit there and watch it, but it's missing that sort of edge that makes me want to return to it at all. And I don't know if it's just because the threat maybe is missing a bit, even though I think Celia Imrie, I think she's great, you know, great casting. But you got the Great Intelligence pop up at the end, and I'd kind of forgotten all about that. I was like, oh yeah, Richard E. Grant, you know, and that feels like it should be quite a big moment, but kind of just isn't. You got Matt riding up the Shard on a bike, which I remember at the time thinking was ridiculous, but looks good, you know, on screen. I don't know, it feels like there's epic moments, and there's also really lovely moments between Matt and Clara. So obviously it's her first story as his companion, I suppose, because she sort of popped up a few times and there's this mystery surrounding her. So that's quite interesting. But I don't know, it's just missing that spark. And it's a sort of a, would you call it a series opener? Because it's the second half of the series, but it kind of was. We'd had a gap, so it was like, you know, Doctor Who was returning, so you kind of wanted it to come back with a bit of a bang. And I'm not sure it quite reaches those heights, really. But it's got some good moments. So I still think it's a decent episode. It's just nothing special. It's just a bit forgettable, really. There's not really anything in it. You know, if you say to me, what do you remember from Bell St. John? I just think of the Doctor going up the Shard on the bike, and that's really a tiny moment from it. I don't actually think of any plot points or story. Nothing really sticks with me, particularly from this one. Even though I think it's great we get the Great Intelligence back. I think it's a lovely touch, but yeah, it's just an okay watch, really. That's all I can say. It's just okay. And I think you've said before, it's that indifference thing, isn't it? It's like, I'd love to be able to say, oh, I love this one, or, oh, this is, I couldn't get into this, or, you know, but for me, it's that awful middle of the ground, you know, I kind of don't like it really, because it's just like, it's just, you know, it's one of those for me.
Yeah. I'll read you, dude. Yeah, I'll read you. It's, I think the best way for me to describe it from my point of view is this episode tries really hard. It's trying really hard to give us a memorable story, but ultimately it just lands on really the interaction of the Doctor and this trend that started really from this episode onwards, in that Stephen Moffat absolutely loves Clara.
Yep.
So from, as you said, we've seen her she pops up a couple of times before this point, doesn't she? So this is like the third time, I think, that we've seen her so far. And it's from this point on that she's established as a full-time companion. And it's weird because previous to this, Amy, you know, the other companions, they had their stories where the focus was on them for sure. But it feels like from this point onwards that Clara was like the main focus for not only a lot of the stories, but the next 2 or 3 series that she was in it.
Yeah, she's even in the intro of one of the Capaldi Capaldi episodes, isn't she? Do you remember?
Yes.
Her face replaced Capaldi's, and they called it Clara Who, I think. But I can't remember if they actually put that in the screen. But yeah, it does very much become the Clara show.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. Yeah. So I think the Moff, I don't know, something about this character, he just really wanted to focus on that a lot from here on in, and it does continue all the way through until she leaves, really. So Matt's firing on all cylinders for the most part. He's not too bad in this one. I didn't quite get that. It was only in the beginning part of the episode where I felt that spark from him. Really, I felt, you know, that that magic that he normally got. And then the last half of the story, I felt he was just a little bit flat for me. And then this whole premise of the Wi-Fi and stuff, it's a little bit, it's okay. It just doesn't really, it's nothing exciting, put it that way. And then the reveal of the great intelligence and stuff at the very end, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. But I think ultimately, I think I'm in the same camp as you do. It's not a terrible episode, but at the same time, it's nothing great, which is weird because they kind of set themselves up for a fall here because they did this strange, let's split the series in two. I'm pretty sure, I'm 99% sure they marketed this as like the big return, like the big mid-season opener, mid-series opener, whatever you want to call it. But it doesn't feel like a series opener. That's the problem. It feels like a kind of semi-filler episode.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, it's probably not classed as a filler because we get introduced to a new companion, even though we've seen her before. So it's a new companion episode and all that stuff. But it does feel filler. That's the thing. It's like a filler thing.
It's funny because it's like you said, it's introducing Clara properly. And I do love the fact that Moffat, this is, again, this is when I defend Moffat, I love the fact he the imagination from Stephen Moffat, and he did try things, did different things. So I love the fact that we got that surprise appearance from the souffle girl back in, was that in Asylum of the Daleks? Am I getting confused?
No, that's right.
Is that when we first saw her?
Souffle girl,
So we get, souffle girl, and you're like, so it's like, oh, we knew she was the new companion because, obviously it'd been announced Jenna Coleman was going to be the new assistant or whatever. So to throw her in as that in that Dalek story as a surprise, remember, was like, oh, that's cool. Then we get her as Victorian Clara in the Christmas special that came before this, don't we? The Snowmen. And then obviously we get properly introduced to the Clara Oswald that will become the full-time companion. So I think it was a good sort of like mystery at the time, and I love Moffat for having the imagination to do these things of introducing a companion midway through the series, if you like, even though it was split in two. So I like all that stuff. I think that's cool. I'm not sure it quite panned out like a lot of Moffat's great ideas. I don't know if it panned out as well as it could have done, but I love him for at least having a go. Do you know what I mean? That's why I will defend Moffat, because he does have imagination. He throws things into the mix left, right and centre. Maybe just they don't always land, that's all. But yeah, the Clara thing at this point anyway, I think was intriguing. It was like, well, how has the Doctor met her, in these different incarnations, and she doesn't know him? And there was a good little mystery there. But as an introductory story for Clara in this one, I don't think she's really utilised that well. I don't immediately warm to her. She's a bit cocky, a bit snooty. I don't know. I haven't I'm not endeared to her in this story. I have to admit, there's a couple of good scenes with her and Matt. I suppose sort of towards the end, and there's that nice scene where she's hanging out of the window and Matt's protecting her. He's got the TARDIS part to the side. I like all that stuff. But I don't know, there are other bits where she's like slamming the door in his face, and I don't know, she's this nanny character, which is odd. And I'd forgotten about Anjin Artie or whatever he's called, those kids. As soon as I saw them on screen, I was like, oh no. I've forgotten about those guys. They're terrible. Thankfully, they're hardly in this episode, so it's all good. But yeah, she's written a bit stupid as well. I mean, she's supposed to be 24, I think, in this story. When the Doctor goes through her journal, I think the age at the bottom is 24, and she doesn't know how to connect to the internet. I mean, I'm the biggest technophobe in the world. I can't stand anything to do with technology. But even I know how to connect a computer to the Wi-Fi. And I just think there's no way she wouldn't have known how to do that. So that was a bit contrived, that sort of plot thing. But I like the idea of having that weird code that if you click on it, I think that's cool, because, you might do that if you were if it had been written a different way, if she was searching through the connections, which one do I need to click on? Oh, what's this? But the fact that she doesn't even know how to connect to the internet, I thought was a bit silly. But then it leads to that nice scene of her phoning Matt. So I kind of forgive it, because I love the scene when she phones Matt in the monastery, and he's on the TARDIS phone. He's like, "Who gave you this number?" And she's like, "The woman in the shop." And I love all that stuff. I thought that was really, really fun. And of course, the woman in the shop is
Missy.
Yeah, I think it's Missy. Yeah, I think because that's a typical Moffat strand that probably didn't even need to be answered. But I'm kind of glad he did, because I think way ahead in the future, he finally says, "Oh, it was Missy, by the way, the woman in the shop." Oh, right. Yeah. Moffat loves to leave strands hanging, doesn't he?
He loves it, mate.
Yeah, I mean, that's not an important one. It's probably not a good example. But yeah, I loved all that stuff, though. I thought that was all good fun. I'm not sure about the airplane scene. It's fun, but it's ridiculous, really. Like Celia Imrie. Sorry, what's the character called? The main villain.
Oh,
Miss Kismet.
Miss Kismet. Yeah.
So she wants to wipe them out. So she decides to just nosedive a plane into the
bit dark. Yeah.
A bit dark and a bit. Yeah, I mean, I'll just kill everyone just to get rid of these two people. I'm sure there's easier ways she could have done it. It's a bit of a sort of a Scooby-Doo type moment. If I could just kill you now, but I'll do this ridiculously outlandish act of violence, and it's not going to work because you're obviously going to escape. But it's a weird scene, that, isn't it? It's fun because I love the bit with the Doctor and Clara go in the TARDIS and it's all swirling around, and suddenly they're in a plane that's crashing towards the Earth. I think, it's fun, but it's also, if you look at it, it's a bit ridiculous, really. I'm not sure. I think it's a kind of I could just see the Moffat writing the script thinking, "Oh, I need to put some action in. I need to. We've had a talky scene. Need a bit of action now. What can happen? I know." And it just seems to be thrown in there, and they deal with it really quickly, and then that fun scene's over, and we're back to sort of the actual main story. So there's a couple of little bits like that, which I think just seem to be thrown in there. Like you said, there's epic moments. It's sort of reaching to be this epic episode in lots of places, and then it just goes back to being this sort of one level, sort of one paced episode. I don't know.
No, I do. I
never
do know
quite
what you
reaches those heights, does it?
Yeah, it's what you were saying a little while ago. It's it has those moments throughout the story, like when he's driving up the side of the Shard on the motorbike. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And when the TARDIS lands by down by South Bank, is it South Bank, down that area?
South Bank, yeah.
It looks like. That's kind of cool. And you got the people outside. When I was looking at some of the promo pictures and stuff, when I was working up the assets for this, there's some really cool photos actually of Matt and Jenna down by the South Bank and talking to fans and stuff, and then the actual people who were there in the show itself filming, like, all taking pictures with their phones, and he's got his fez and he pretends he's some sort of street performer. That's all really cool, that bit. It feels very Matt's era. It feels all very cool, and the TARDIS looks great and stuff.
There's some nice location scenes. Yeah, I like the location stuff.
Yeah, so that's all kind of cool. And when he drives out of the bit where he goes back into the TARDIS and he goes down the corridor, and we think, we're going to see a bit more of the TARDIS, but we don't. But, it's kind of cool. He's like, no, but it's this way. And you think, what's he up to? And then he just drives out on the bike and all that stuff. So moments like that are very, very cool. Really cool. And the opening's really cool as well, isn't it? When he's back in whatever time with the monks and stuff. And
yeah, I like all that stuff. That was fun. Yeah,
that was really
cool. Painting and
and because you think at the beginning that it is some kind of big monastery bell ringing somewhere, or a church bell, because the monks look really distressed, don't they? Like, like the bells are ringing, and it turns out it's like a play on words. It's the phone in the TARDIS ringing, which is very cool, because
St. John's Ambulance, which they wouldn't be able to do now because they don't have the St. John's Ambulance sticker anymore.
Yeah, I don't think they've referenced that much, have they, in the shows? I can't remember anyway, where they've the Doctor or any kind of story plot points have centered around or even referenced the St. John's logo, or the the phone ringing, that sort of stuff.
No, that's a good point.
So it's kind of weird. Yeah, it's weird they haven't done that before, but. So I really like the setup to the story, and Matt looks great in his monk's outfit, robes, and his hair's all messy, and that whole setup is very cool. When Clara's ringing him and he's confused, and those little big series arcs that Moff loves so much, which kind of a bit irky.
I saw the big leaf coming out. Like, oh God, I've forgotten about the leaf.
The leaf, that stuff. But yeah, the setup to the story is really cool. I love Matt as the monk. And what did you think to his new costume, by the way? Because he picks up his old jacket. He's in the TARDIS and he's throwing all his stuff around. Picks up his old jacket and he just drops it instantly. It's like, yep. It's kind of saying visually, isn't it? It's like my era up to now, like see you later. Now it's like new and shiny stuff, like new costume, new companion, slightly new theme and all that. What do you think to his new costume compared to his old one?
I prefer the old one. I like the tweed and bow tie. I think it suits Matt well. But I do like the new one as well, just not as much. And I like that idea though. It's a very sort of subtle, like you've just said, new companion, new second half of the series, new costume. I just think it's quite nice to just have a change. So even though I prefer the tweed, I just think it's nice to see the Doctor do something else. I mean, with Jodie's Doctor, we've seen hardly any variation at all, have we? I think she wore a jumper once in one of the episodes. We've seen very little change in her costume at all, and I just think it's nice, just to have the odd change. It can be quite subtle. I think it doesn't have to be anything big, but yeah, I think it's cool. I think it suits him, and I love he gets that old wooden box out and it's got the bow tie in it. Again, it's such a Matt moment, and I think that's a really nice little scene. So yeah, I think it's a good outfit for him. It suits him. I like it. Yeah.
Yes, agreed. I do like the colour of the new coat and stuff. It's got a cool, it's got a cool colour to it. I do like it, but there's something also cool about his previous costume where it, for me, it feels like that lent more into the whole Raggedy Man point of view.
I know what you mean.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So his boots were a little bit more scuffed up, his trousers were a bit shorter, and it looks exactly like we saw in the 11th Hour, where he's just cobbling together some clothes in the hospital locker room sort of thing. So it feels a lot more cobbled, whereas this feels a lot more refined. Like the trousers are a better fit, the shoes aren't as scuffed, nicer fitting jacket, a little bit longer, a bit more refined, I guess, for the Doctor. But there's something cool about the old cobbled together look. I like.
Yeah, this is smarter, isn't it? It's a smarter look for him. And it might sound crazy, but maybe that affects his performance a little, because I do feel like Matt's slightly different in this story. I think you said earlier it's a good performance, but not quite up there with his usual spark. And I do think he's great in it, but there is a different dynamic. And the reason I say, I know that sounds a bit crazy, but sometimes when you put on a nice so like when if you think of yourself, when you put on something nice, you feel good, don't you? If you put something on and it's a bit tight, but you think, I can get away with it, the whole time you're not feeling yourself. So maybe it affected his performance slightly in the way he acted, because he just feels different in that costume. And also I think the dynamic between him and Clara is very different to the Ponds. The Ponds felt like you could just tell the actors all got on, and it was a really sort of tight net sort of group, if you like, those three. With Clara, it's just the two of them bouncing off each other. They've got to get to know each other. This is really early days, isn't it? So there's a different dynamic there, which I think affects Matt's performance as well. Not that I think it's bad. I think he's great in it, but it's definitely different, and there's a different feel to him, is what I'm trying to say. And I think some of it does come down to the costume. He feels like a slightly different Doctor to who we met in series 5. Not a bad thing. It's good to have a bit of progression and change, but I totally get what you're saying when you say it's not quite the same Raggedy Doctor that we've seen previously. Yeah.
Indeedy. Yeah. Still not bad, though. Still a good-looking Doctor.
Yeah. And, you said the intro is really good. I agree with that, because we've often said they talk about, in a lot of stories, they'll talk about the whole Earth being invaded, but we just get to see central London or Cardiff / central London, don't we? And we often say it doesn't feel like it's the whole world, because they don't have the budget to show it. I thought this episode kind of started quite grand. It's sort of showing Tokyo, I think it is it? Or somewhere, I don't know. It looks quite all these sort of internet things going across the screen, and it's showing different parts of the world, and it felt quite blockbustery to begin with. I thought, wow, obviously they haven't gone over there and shot this. They've probably found some stock footage and used it, but it did feel quite sort of grand, I thought at the start, like it was affecting the whole world. And then, like you said, it's lovely when we cut to the monastery, and it does feel quite film-like, you know. It's really nicely shot, and the locations look really good, and production value is absolutely excellent. So yeah, it was a good beginning. I thought it drew me in pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yes. I think, to be honest, I like it all the way up to it's the scenes in the actual, the great intelligence room, if you want, the room with all the screens and all that stuff with the actual villains. It's those scenes that for me I just find really flat and dull. Like, I think that's what I mean with the threat missing. Like those, every time we cut to the villain, it's just this thing of they're in a room with a load of TV screens. It's just not very exciting. Even though I think Celia Imrie is great as Miss Kislet, she doesn't really get a lot to do other than look at TV screens and computer screens. And it just gets it sort of slows it down a bit for me.
No, I agree. Yeah, because again, going back to the opening of the story, that guy who's telling you not to click on the Wi-Fi network and, look out for this symbol and it's going to trap you and stuff like that. That kind of set it up to be relatively scary. It could have been, not that we need it to be scary as such, but that did set it up to be like, oh crap, this is not good, sort of thing. But it did turn, but it did turn out to be just a bit, like you said, when we cut to the Shard and the office where all that's happening. There's a little bit of bant between Miss Kislet and the other people that are working there. They've just been, their brains. Their memory's been wiped, everything, haven't they? And they're just working there on autopilot almost. And so there's some bants there, and like the guy who we were confused about earlier, Dan Lee, who plays the character of Alexei. We were like, "Who's that guy?" He's like, "Oh yeah, he's the guy that is he's meant to be pretty good with the old computers, but." Miss Kislet's like, oh yeah, we'll kill him later, and let him come back off his holiday.
Yeah, let him have his holiday.
Yeah, stuff like that. So there's a little bit of bants going on there, but ultimately, it's really, and this is what I was saying earlier, is that the Doctor doesn't solve the problem here. Clara does, like right from the off. Like you were saying earlier, it kind of turns into the Clara show where the Doctor, and this happens all the way through, and even with Capaldi as well, where you kind of think, right, okay. The Doctor would know how to find what's happening here. He would easily be able to do it, but it's almost like he's kind of stumped, and you don't really have that with the Doctor. He's the guy, or he's the person, should I say, with the plan. They are the person, with the plan sort of thing. They know what's going on. Whereas the Doctor in this one, he's like, yeah, I'm trying to figure this out. And Clara's like, I can do it. And he's like, no, I can do it. She's like, no, let me do it. He's like, oh, go on then. So then she hacks in and she does all the stuff. And he comes back, and there's that cool scene where Miss Kislet's controlling all the other people in the restaurant, in the cafe. Yeah. And then she's controlling the newsreader and talking directly to the Doctor. That's quite cool. But then he comes out and she's like, oh, I solved it, by the way. It's here. That part of it for me is like, because as a one-off or every now and then it's okay, but we start to have that with every bloody episode now moving forward, where you would expect the Doctor to lead the way and the companion to be the companion, but it very much turns into Clara saving the day, or doing. We didn't have that too much with going back at all, like Rose and Martha and Karen. All those. They're following the Doctor's lead, even if they don't understand what's going on at the time. Like, even we had that crazy stuff that was going on with the impossible astronaut.
Oh, yeah.
And all that stuff where it's like, is he dead? Is he not? What's going on?
But they trust the Doctor implicitly to,
exactly.
Whatever's happening, we know, the Doctor's in control. I can kind of forgive it in this one, because you think, okay, it's Clara's first story. They want to make her the saviour. So you think that's fair, fair enough. But it does get a bit tiresome. I think going forward, especially when you get to the Capaldi era. I think it's possibly worse than that. I think she almost takes over in the Capaldi era, from what I remember. Yeah, so I do know what you mean, but I can sort of forgive it in this one, just because it's supposed to be her introductory story. But I love that scene though, when Matt's goes to get the coffee, and all the people start talking to him but they'd be like, "Oh, would you like 2 sugars in that? You're not going to win, by the way." Sorry, what? It's like, I thought it was a really great scene when she's controlling all the different people. I didn't get, although I loved it when the Doctor comes back and she's like, "I sorted it out." He goes, "You sorted it out. I know where they are. You know where they are." And I thought that was a great scene where he's obviously turned into one of the spoonheads. But how? Like, who is? I didn't get that. How did she get another Doctor-looking person? Who's the Doctor-looking person? Did I miss something? Because I couldn't work out how they'd managed to get a Doctor clone on the roof. He's a spoonhead, I get that, but who is he? Like, where'd he come from?
So I
didn't understand it.
Yeah, so I think the spoonhead Doctor that you see in the Shard, at the top, I think that's the Doctor had reprogrammed or done something to the spoonheads that we saw in the cafe.
Oh, I see. So that's how he then uses it to go up the Shard, and because that was a nice twist. I love it when it turns out that the Doctor who's gone to the Shard is actually the spoonhead. Oh, right, that makes sense. Right, so he's changed one of the other spoonheads into him.
I think so.
But then what? Yeah. But then why does he look surprised when he comes out and sees Clara on the table? Because he wouldn't have changed the thing into a spoonhead for it then to knock Clara out. And I don't know, a bit confused now. Anyway, it was that's what I mean. I suppose it's one of those things you kind of have to try not to think too much about, maybe. I don't know. But it was a nice scene anyway when he turns out to be a spoonhead. What do you think of the spoonheads, by the way? Do you think they could have been utilised a bit better? Because I think they've got the potential to be quite creepy, but this is what I mean about the sort of villain and the villain of the week, if you like, being a bit weak in this one. I felt like both Kislet and the spoonheads could have been utilised a bit better, really.
I think so, yeah. I think it's... They were quite creepy, especially with their head spinning around. And the effect was done pretty decent as well, especially when Matt Smith does it.
Yeah.
It does look pretty decent. And they did do it very creepy at the beginning when Clara hears somebody upstairs.
Yeah.
And that little girl comes down the stairs, you think, oh,
from the book cover, again, this is Moffat's imagination, isn't it? He's so good at, throwing these ideas in. He's got that, what's it called, that book? Summer Fools, I think, by Amelia Williams. So that's, again, a lovely little tie-in. It's obviously Amelia Pond. And, great little reference there. And, to bring the girl off of the front cover into the actual story was very creepy. I really liked that idea.
Yeah. No, that was very cool. And, it's weird that they didn't use them a little bit more in terms of... Because they were stationary, mostly, weren't they? It was only the Doctor's one that he sent up the Shard and stuff that we didn't know about because he had the bike helmet on and everything like that. But all the other... I think what made them not quite as threatening as they could be is because they always stood still for the most part. So they were kind of just sort of information bots. They weren't really doing much. But they were okay. The effect was very good. For the time, And what did you think we had a little mention of Unit, didn't they? Unit turn up at the end.
Yeah, Unit kind of turn up at the end, yeah.
It's not too bad. And then what did you think to the client then? So Miss Kislet's client then, the Great Intelligence. So that's a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact it's them. It's just strange because obviously they turned out to be the sort of hidden villain in the Snowmen, the story before it, didn't they? So it's a bit weird to bring them back so soon. But does this lead into other things? Because I can't quite remember. I know Richard E. Grant turns up. Is it at the end of this series? He definitely pops back up, doesn't he?
He does,
I remember him. Is it in The Death of the Doctor or something like that? I've forgotten the titles now because there's so many of the Doctors around this time. Day, night, death. Is it The Death of the Doctor it's called? Anyway, he pops back up, so maybe there's more to it and it's like an ongoing theme. I can't really remember. Series 7 is not a series I go back to very often, so I've kind of lost track of what all these little things are. Yeah, he turns up in the name of the Doctor, the name of the Doctor. Great Intelligence is waiting for him.
Yeah, yes.
So maybe it comes full circle. Yeah. So again, that makes it feel a bit filler because it's just thrown in there as a bit of these guys are back, but not, it's just a little nod to them and might see them again later because they don't really get defeated. So
yeah. Well, we saw them in the special, didn't we? So in the Snowmen.
Yeah.
And then in this one, you would have thought that they would have kicked off a little bit more, because we've already seen them, you know. So in the Snowmen, we've already seen the Great Intelligence and Richard E. Grant's character and stuff. So we already know about them. We already know that they're back and everything. But
I can't remember if they play a big part in The Name of the Doctor. Gosh, I haven't watched that for so long. I can't honestly remember anything about Name of the Doctor. Can you? Apart from the fact that Clara jumps in the Doctor's timeline or something. That's literally the only thing I can remember about the episode.
That's it, yeah. Doesn't it? Isn't it in Trenzalore?
Yeah, I think so.
They go back to Trenzalore, and that's the whole thing where Clara then manipulates all of those important events throughout the Doctor's time stream. Do you remember where the first Doctor's like running away, and she's like, you know, what?
He nicks the TARDIS, yeah.
All that stuff, yeah. So, but I can't remember the Great Intelligence's exact involvement in that, though. I can't remember that. I haven't seen it in ages, so.
Have we reviewed it? I'm just having a look. Cause I honestly, it's so I have a feeling I've only watched it when it aired. I'm just going to have a quick look. Matt Smith.
The Name of the Doctor we have not reviewed yet.
Have we not reviewed it?
No,
we haven't actually. So the Bells of St. John and Name of the Doctor are the two. Up until now that we've not reviewed from Series 7. And God, when you look at Series 7, mate, this was the series that was all promoted to be like blockbuster, when it had the big blockbuster film-like posters for every episode. Do you remember? It was quite an epic thing at the time. And some of these episodes, I'm just looking at the list of them now. There are ones like Asylum of the Daleks, for example, which I quite enjoyed when it first went out, but now I rewatch it, I find really hard going. Some of them do not sort of bear up to a rewatch. Do you know what I mean? Like Town Called Mercy is one that I thought wasn't that good, but then I enjoyed it more on a rewatch. Then you've got Angels Take Manhattan. That's not bad. Great, no. Yeah, I remember you weren't too keen on that one. I don't mind that one. Rings of Akaten. Oh, good grief. Hyde, I remember quite liking. Journey to the Centre of TARDIS was such a crushing disappointment. Crimson Horror is probably one of the better ones.
The next one's a banger.
Nightmare in Silver. Oh, man.
Nightmare in Silver, yeah.
Series 7, really, it's such a mixed bag. And it's not, I would say it's more duds than good. I'm looking at it, looking at the list of stories, and there's only really a couple. Hardly any, actually. there's not a lot there that I would say is good. I agree. Yeah. But then again, I look at it and I think, a bit like this episode, there's not anything there I wouldn't watch. There's nothing there that I think, God, that is so bad. I could maybe Journey to the Centre of TARDIS. I probably could live without seeing that again. But stuff like Town Called Mercy, Power 3, Dinosaurs on a Spaceship at a Push, Cold War, you know, they are stories that I would quite happily sit and watch. They're not great, but they're not bad in the sense that I never would reach for them to watch them again. They've still got that something, and maybe that something is Matt Smith. I don't know, but yeah, they're not unwatchable. But it's not a great series, is it? Series 7.
It's a funny old one, isn't it?
It's a funny series. It's an odd series, yeah. Even split in two, yeah.
Mm. Yes, even split across the two. Yeah, it's a funny old one. Just hit and miss throughout. But so we still, for the benefit of the listener, we still need to review The Name of the Doctor, The Day of the Doctor, and The Time of the Doctor.
You know, I'm quite looking forward to reviewing Name of the Doctor now, just because I can't remember it at all. That will be an interesting one when we get round to it. It's not on the schedule, but
not yet.
One day we'll get round to it. Yeah.
So that'll be next year for sure, because our schedule's filled up. Actually, we were due to review the Snowman.
On there. It's on. Oh no, it's not.
That's the next. That was one of the specials. Yeah, David Tennant specials, I think.
Oh right.
Yeah, but we were due to review the Snowmen. Third week of December for Christmas. We were, because it's one of the Christmas specials, so we were due to do that, and but that's going to be bumped now, I think, because we've got everything lined up for the rest of the year, but now we know that Series 13 is definitely dropping at some point. All of that stuff's probably going to be shifted to next year.
That'll go out the window. I thought we'd reviewed the Snowman quite recently. It's another one, though, I thought we'd just already done.
Nah.
Let us know, listeners.
No, we definitely haven't done that one.
No? Okay.
Yeah, so anyway, those name of, time of, and everything, that'll be next year for sure.
all gets confusing, doesn't it?
As we wrap up Matt Smith stuff, because I think we've only got we've literally done everything. The only ones we've got left of Matt Smith's era is the one we're doing today, Bell St. John, and then the Snowmen, and then name, day, and time of the Doctor. So we've only got.
Is that it?
Yeah, then we're done with Matt Smith's Doctor. Yeah,
blimey, that's a shame because I love his Doctor, and this series is a perfect example of, not great stories, but I still would watch him because I just love Matt. He does bring up any story I think he's in. Pretty much. I don't think he could save Nightmare in Silver. I think that's probably one that he couldn't save. But generally, he does manage to save any slightly weak episode, doesn't he?
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
So are we missing the Ponds at this point? I mean, how do you feel about Clara? Because I must admit, the more we've rewatched the Matt Smith era, the more I've really grown to love the Ponds, and especially when they're together. I mean, Amy could be written to be a bit OTT and annoying at times, but I think when they're together, the three of them, Rory, Amy and the Doctor, they were a great team, and I like the fact that the Doctor's sort of gone into retreat a bit because he's lost them. He's gone to find solitude in this monastery and find his thoughts, and in the Snowmen he was very contemplative. Mm-hmm. So I think that's nice. He's getting over the Ponds, but are we missing them? What do we think of Clara, this new companion? Because obviously we know she goes on to dominate the whole show pretty much. But what do we think of her at this point as an introduction?
I think at this point she's kind of cool. At this point, if I rewind time and think when this was going out and watching it, thinking actually, yeah, she's kind of cool. She's not too bad. But it's only with hindsight that sort of tarnishes that stuff because and. Conversely, we know that there are loads of Clara fans out there, loads of people that really like Clara.
Oh yeah,
which is cool. She's not a terrible companion, and it goes back to so much stuff that we've said about certain characters over the years and scenarios where it's not the character themselves that's been the problem so much. It's really the way that they've been involved in the stories, whether they've either been left out or they've dominated. There's not been that. Like if we think to Graham and Ryan over the past couple of years, they've either dominated the story. So would Chibbers drop little nuggets with Jodie's Doctor, like what's she hiding from the fam? Mm-hmm. But then that doesn't really go anywhere. And so the story then always comes back to the relationship between Graham and Ryan. And that sort of takes over from what the Doctor, and then even when we had that huge build up and that big thing around the timeless child, that just sort of fell flat immediately afterwards, even though that was probably the most epic and groundbreaking show canon breaking thing that we've ever had in the show.
It was a bit like he threw a grenade and then just ran away.
Yeah, he threw a grenade and instead of exploding, it just went like, and then that was it. And so, so it went back to the companions and their story. And then it goes from that to them just looking bored and doing nothing. And that's kind of what happened with Clara. She kind of defaulted to being the dominant figure within the program and leading the way. Or it was like, was Clara in this one? I can't remember. There was no, pretty much from this point onwards, series 7 onwards, it did set that precedent for not finding a decent middle ground for the companion or the companions. Yeah, she's
her character is so all over the place. I think even in this, it doesn't feel like the Moffat's got a sort of. She's not fully formed as a character. In this, I mean, you can forgive it because it's the first sort of episode with her in, but already the Moffat's come up with these other ideas like Souffle Girl and the Victorian one. But when he gets to actually introducing what's going to be the full-time companion, she doesn't feel like a fully rounded character. She's doing this weird babysitting job due to some guilt factor of I forget what it was now. She's doing it because she feels guilty about something. The kids talk to her like crap, and she just accepts it. She lets them talk down to her. But then in other scenes, she's really strong and will be like shutting the door in Matt's face and telling him to go away. So she's happy to stand up to him. She doesn't know how to connect to the Wi-Fi. Her character just seems a bit strange in this first episode. And then she goes from not being able to connect the Wi-Fi to solving the whole mystery of where they are. But of course, I know that's because she's been downloaded, so she's got all this new technology in her brain. I get that, but I don't know. But this is the thing with Clara's character, is she just changes in every story to suit the story, from what I remember anyway. She's just a very uneven character. By the time we get to Capaldi, I think she's kind of found a level ground, but she becomes too domineering. But in the Capaldi era, she wants to be the Doctor, if I remember right.
Yes,
that's the route they go down. That she is so impressed with how the Doctor deals with things, she wants to become that, which in a way works because Clara's character is quite cocky. So I can totally see it going down that route. That kind of makes sense to me. But yeah, in this first episode, I don't know, she just seemed to be written to be a little bit like they weren't quite sure where they were going to go with the character. She hasn't got a job. She's doing this babysitting thing. It's all a bit strange. She doesn't feel fully formed as a character to me at this point.
I think that's kind of what the Doctor's trying to figure out as well, though.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Because he's he knows that she's somebody that's not what's the word? She, as a character, she's not supposed to be where she is, if that makes sense.
That's right. Yeah, it's great to see when he turns up at the door, isn't it? Yeah, and he's just can't believe it.
Yeah, and that's kind of weird. So, and then, but he asks her that very same question that we're asking. It's like, why are you a nanny? Why are you doing this sort of thing? And she kind of answers, she's like, oh, I was going to travel, but that didn't work out. So blah, blah, blah. So the Doctor's also confused. So that in terms of writing, that's not too bad because we're sharing the same confusion as the Doctor, as that character. So we're kind of along on the journey as well. It's like, well, that is a good point. Exactly. Why is she doing this and why is she here and stuff? And it kind of gets explained, doesn't it? Like we were saying, right at the end of the series with the name of the Doctor, and we find out, why she's here and what she's doing and all the rest of it. But at this moment in time, yeah, it's a little bit weird. And I kind of agree with what you're saying as well. We do have this thing where love them or hate them, previous companions like Rose and Amy and stuff like that, they were written consistently throughout all of RTD's era and the beginning of Moff's era. If Rose was being all gushy over the Doctor in the first series, then they didn't just turn it off like a light switch in the next one. It was still a consistent thing. And, Amy sort of picking up Rory and then dropping him again like a hot potato. And, that kind of evens out towards the end as their relationship matures and they solidify that towards the end. But Clara is a little bit consistent, but that's no different to Capaldi's Doctor, right? So for his first series, it was like, have they written him as like a sort of heartless, grumpy old Doctor? I feel like they have. It's like I feel like they have. These last two episodes have been like that. And then the next one, he's more jokey, clowny. Like,
midlife crisis Doctor in the next one.
Yeah, so they want to inject a bit of Troughton and Matt Smith into his Doctor. Okay, that's cool. And in the next episode, it's like, well, he's very human in this one.
He's almost Pertwee-ish, isn't he? He's sort of earthbound, doing the lecturing and
and then the next
him the best, I think.
Yeah, and then because it kind of feels like, I know we're going off a bit of a tangent with this, but it feels like the same thing kind of happened with Clara that they did with Capaldi, that Moff did with Capaldi, where it's almost like they had a ton of feedback and they're like, okay, he's not connecting with younger viewers. And then they make a change to the script. I know they couldn't do that on the fly like that because they would have filmed everything. But like as they've got like sort of guest screenings and test screenings for stuff like that, when they're doing partway through sort of post-production, they're like, okay, the Doctor's not connecting with a younger audience. So then a bit further down the line, he's all sort of young and hip looking, playing the guitar with the shades on, and everything's sort of, this is for the younger audience. And then more feedback's like, that's ridiculous. And then a bit further down the line, he's back to sort of old, grumpy Hartnell. It's almost like the same thing with Clara. It's like she's young and hip and she connects with like the younger female audience, that's all great. But then, oh no, we don't want her to just be viewed as a companion. She needs to be a strong female character. Oh no, okay, then we'll make her take over a little bit. So now she can save the day and she can be the focus. And then it's like, yeah, but Matt Smith's getting forgotten. All right, we'll do a silly filler one then, where she's just sort of running after the Doctor, sort of one-liners, cracking jokes, like Clyde Langer style. Oh, cool. And then some more feedback. Do you know where I'm going with this? It's like more feedback. Oh, now you've just turned her into just a silly girl running after the Doctor. You know, as we expected you would do. Oh, no, don't worry. She's going to save the day again. In fact, she's going to save all of the Doctors all at once. So don't worry about it, sort of thing. So a bit of a rant there, a bit of a tangent, but it definitely feels like from this point onwards, like you said, they kind of moulded her as they went. It wasn't a consistent, this is what Clara would do, regardless of situation. This is what she would say and how she would react, regardless. Let's tweak her so that she can fit within the story, rather than the story fits to how she would be as a character.
Yeah. I'm going to say, I mean, Jenna as well, her performance, it's decent considering, you know, she sort of has to even in this one episode, she has to kind of change a little bit throughout. And I think she's quite good in it for a first episode. Because that's the thing, you know, she's got to find a bit of a connection with Matt. And I think the chemistry's kind of there. I think that there's some good moments between the two of them. They seem to bounce off each other okay. There's just a bit at the end, I think, where I thought, you know, Jenna, she is quite confident in her performance, even when I don't like it. And what I mean by that is there's a bit where she comes into the TARDIS at the end, and she's very assured in her performance. And she, you know, and I think that's one thing I will say for Jenna. She just looks like she's very comfortable. She strides into the TARDIS, and it's the scene where she says to the Doctor, "Come back tomorrow." And I might say yes. And you know what I mean? Her performance, I have to say, although Jenna Clara is not my favourite person on the planet, I have to say, you know, she does give a good performance. Even in these early days, she's quite assured. She seems to do the sort of strong, cocky side of Clara quite well. You know, I have to say.
Yeah.
And I love that. I do like that scene because I love it. Matt's like, yeah, well, of course I can come back tomorrow. It's a time machine. you know, again, Moffat's dialogue, although it can be hit and miss, he does throw in some great lines, some good humour. He is good at that.
Some of them do land for Matt, especially. Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And just lastly, we did have a couple of little changes and tweaks as they brought back the series then. So they changed the logo in the opening theme. It used to be this it's got like a kind of metallic weathered sort of texture to it now. It used to be, previous to that, they used to it changed from episode to episode, do you remember?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, yeah.
But now it's just this this one kind of metallic, sort of roughed up kind of look. And then the theme tune, as I said earlier, was a little bit different as well. So they got rid of, in the previous theme tune up to this point, they had these little kind of electrical static hissing noises, of noises. They got rid of those. And we just had a bit more of a focus on the bassy side of the theme from the previous one.
It surprises me how much Moffat does tweak in such a short space of time. It's like maybe it's that sort of perfectionist type thing, you know, and he clearly does listen to feedback because, you know, I think there have been lines injected into some episodes that are directly speaking to the fans that, you know, they're not subtle at all. And I don't mind that, you know. I think he even put a line in Twice Upon a Time about the Doctor's shades, didn't he? I can't remember what it was, but, you know, it's clearly saying to the fans that hate him, you know, this is you speaking. Yeah. So the Moffat clearly listened to feedback, and he almost seems quite restless. So like you said, even in the same series, he's changing things and altering the odd little bit that probably 9 out of 10 people would notice. I didn't notice that the little crackles were missing from the intro, but now you mention it, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And it's probably good that they're missing because I don't think they added anything. But yeah, he's always tweaking little bits here and there, isn't he? And I'm not saying it as a negative. I just think it's like with Chibnall, he will stick to his guns. He's, you know, if that's the intro, he's going to keep that whether people like it or not. That is the intro. And I'm not saying one's right or wrong. I just think it's a very interesting, the difference in, you know, like how much did the theme tune change during Moffat's era? It changed all the time. You think about Series 5 intro, and then this strange bassy intro, and then the horrific Peter Capaldi music intro. You know, that so much changed in such a short space of time. during the Moffat era. So he wasn't. Yeah, I don't know. We couldn't really call him consistent, but I also like the fact he was willing to just try things and mix things up. I think.
Yeah, he definitely tried stuff. I mean, the other thing is they added these slats, these little gratings in the floor of the TARDIS as well, so that the light shines up a little bit more from the floor and stuff like that. But you're right though on at least trying stuff, because in this episode it's the one and only time in Matt's era where he uses the control panels on the outer ring of the TARDIS
I noticed that. Yeah.
Yeah, he sort of, there's a scene, isn't he, where he's zipping around and he's using the control panels that are on the outside ring of it.
Yeah.
That's the only time he ever does it in his whole...
Should have done that more. I liked that.
But it's like a little trial and error thing, wasn't it? It's like, we'll do that, see how it feels. And probably nobody said, like, they probably thought, oh, if fans say that's cool, well then we'll do it. But I think it just went by and nobody mentioned anything, because we've never spoken about it.
I've never. It's weird that you say that, because I'd never noticed it until I rewatched this yesterday. And it's a really weird thing to pick up on. But I remember thinking, oh, he used the controls on the outside. And I don't remember him doing that before.
Weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? The things you notice. But I just like the fact that the Moffat's just sat there tweaking things as he goes along. But it sometimes helps, it sometimes doesn't. And I think with Clara, he's sort of constantly tweaking her, isn't he? Throughout her whole time on the show, he's like trying different things and changing her character a bit. I don't know. Maybe he couldn't help himself, just constantly trying to do stuff. But yeah, I don't know.
Strange times.
The old mothball.
The old moth bag, yeah. Okay. I've got no other notes, by the way, dude. Have you got anything?
No, just the fact that I loved there was a reference to the Earl's Court TARDIS thrown in. Again, it's just Moffat just being brilliant. I mean, if people don't, there's probably a lot of people out there wouldn't have even picked up on it or knew what he was talking about. But there's a line where they say, "Oh, make sure we've actually got the TARDIS this time, because that Earl's Court thing was a bit embarrassing." It's just a reference to the fact that there's a real police box outside Earl's Court Station, which a lot of Doctor Who fans go and have a picture with. And I just thought it was a lovely little, reference that Moffat threw in there for those that know about it. So stuff like that. And I thought Murray's music was cool. I quite like the theme. I don't know, the bassy theme. I quite like it. I certainly like it a hell of a lot more than the screechy Capaldi theme tune that we get later. And you do see Matt's face in the intro really briefly as well, which is a nice throwback to us. But yeah, Murray's music, pretty cool, pretty good, pretty, still doing this thing. Nothing amazing, but it's still some nice music in there. Clara's theme, for example, is really nice. I think that. So cool. Again, Murray coming up with some nice themes for the companion, which are new. So yeah, some good stuff going on from Murray as usual.
Yeah. I agree, dude. Yeah, nothing.
That stuck in my head there.
Yeah, nothing jumping out, but new theme and so on. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. Yeah. Right, scores then, bud. I think it's me to go first.
It's you this time, yes.
Yes, I'm going to give this a 6.5.
Yeah.
I'll give it a 6.5 because just to go right back to the beginning of when we started the review, really, it's not great and amazing, and at the same time, it's not bad. It's not terrible. It's just that I can't give it a 5. It's not that middle of the road, but
no.
Yeah, but it's certainly not up there with some of the best of Matt's stuff.
I gasped because I've written 6.5, but I'm actually going to slightly up it to a 7, and I'll tell you for why. It's because 6.5, I normally give that to an episode which I think is pretty poor, and this isn't bad. I would as happily watch it. So I will give it a 7, but it's only just great. It's like the episode itself. It's only just clinging on to that 7 because I had written 6.5. I just feel that's a little bit low. It's not that bad, so I'll give it a 7.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough, dude.
Yeah.
Cool.
I can just see Matt hanging from the 7 like the Doctor of the TARDIS. It's just clinging on to that 7 for me, but only just.
Yeah. So a 6.5 for me, then a 7 for me. And what did our listeners think? Our usual audio reviewers have delivered, as always, which is great. So let's kick off with Sammy Satine.
Hey, Gary and Adam, Sammy Satine here. So, the Bells of St. John. I really do admire Stephen Moffat's ability to make the ordinary scary, or Auden scary, but despite this being a good idea in principle, even Stephen Moffat can't make Wi-Fi scary. This is alright. It goes along nicely. I wasn't bored like Gary was last week. Honestly. I like Celia Emery. She's appeared in quite a lot of things over the years. Nice to see the great intelligence back. It's watchable. I give it 7 Wi-Fi stations out of 10. See ya.
A 7.
7, same as me. I like Celia Imrie, or however you say her name as well. I've seen her in loads of things over the years, like Victoria Wood and stuff. And she's one of these actors that's got that little twinkle in her eye. And I like her as well.
Yeah, she was good in Dinner Ladies, that Victoria Wood
Dinner
series.
Ladies, yes, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, so Sammy says it's watchable with a 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
Thank you very much, Sammy. Moving on, this is Neil Campbell.
What about you fellas? How's it going? So, The Bells of St. John. Do you know what? It's not a classic, but I think it's dead on. I like it. It's fun. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think if you're in a dark room, Matt Smith can light that room up with his performances, because I think he is just fantastic as the Doctor. And some of the comedic scenes, especially in this story, are top drawer. You know, the scene at the door where he says Clara to ask again Doctor Who, and then also when he's speaking about being the anti-grav Olympics, and also when he does, you know, the scene where he changes his clothes and stuff. I love all that. Like, I just think he's on top form. Regards to the actual story itself, again, it's a pretty basic plot, like, to be honest, but I think it works. It's a solid mid-series opener. I like Clara in it as well. I think the CGI of the plane lets it down slightly, but I like it that the great intelligence is getting a lot of exposure in this series, because, you know, it's usually the Daleks or the Cybermen or even the Master, and it's nice that it's another classic monster. So, yeah, I like it. All in, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Cheers!
Another 7.
Another 7. And what a great way of describing Matt. A light in the dark room. That's absolutely bang on.
Yeah. That is perfect for Matt. Yeah, you're absolutely right there, Neil. Yes.
And the Doctor Who scene is brilliant, isn't it? Go on, say it again. Doctor Who. Oh, I love it. I mean, just thinking about that scene is great.
Yeah, that's what you were saying about Moff. You know, some of those lines are just perfect, and Matt does them brilliantly. Yeah.
He really gets Who, Moffat, at times. Yeah.
At times, yeah. Thank you very much, Neil. Another 7. A good friend of ours, Mr. Adam Moon.
Oh. How do you do, big blue boxers? Hope you guys are well and enjoying the show. So I hear you guys are reviewing The Bells of St. John. I thought I'll jump on the mic and have a chat about it. Sure. So the real star of the show is the director, Colin McCarthy. He does an amazing shot where the Doctor Clara enter the TARDIS. It's a massive 360 round the console room, one take as Clara is reacting to the TARDIS being bigger on the inside, and then they land and they're on the plane. It's incredible. Love it so much. Direction. And the London just looks great. Really, really good. And Celia Imrie, cool villain, cast are good. The story's fine, you know. I think, 6 out of 10. But the villains, Spoonheads, the Seventh Doctor's favourite musical instrument, as a villain. Who knew? Who knew, eh? But yeah, that's my 2 cents. Take care, guys, and enjoy the show.
Cheers. I'd imagine the Seventh Doctor coming up against the Spoonheads. That would be fantastic.
A spoon off.
Oh, that'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? God,
yeah.
I can't believe I never thought of that before.
Yeah, you make a good point, Adam, as well, about Colin McCarthy. There are some really nice shots in this. Really nice. And the one that you mentioned where Clara's running in through the TARDIS, you can notice the cut, though, very quickly. It's when he swings her around and she moves very quickly in front of the camera. That's a very, very well done, but you can just about notice it. But the rest of it is all that one take and stuff. And yeah, some really cool stuff. So I agree with you, Adam. It's, yes, very well directed. We didn't pick up much on the direction, but yeah, it's very well done. Thank you very much, Adam.
Yeah, it's quite swish, quite stylish, yeah.
Yes. Moving on, this is Mr. Joe Turner.
The Bells of St. John is a decent opener to part 2 of Series 7. Whilst not amazing, I love the location of London. It provides us with high stakes and my favourite scene, which is when Matt rides the motorcycle through London and up the Shard. The idea of being trapped in the Wi-Fi is an interesting one, and a clear attempt by the writer to demonstrate how our society is consumed within our technology. On first broadcast, this one did confuse me, and parts still do to this day, especially the fact that this episode gives us a lot of questions, but very few answers. It's great to see Matt in his new costume, which is one of my favourite worn by any Doctor. It's nice seeing Unit at the end, and the reveal that the Great Intelligence is the one behind it all is brilliant. However, at times I feel as though Matt is a little off in his performance. I feel he's way too silly and just generally a bit over the top. It's not something I say often as Matt is my favourite Doctor, but something in his performance just didn't click for me in this episode. Also, Jen's performance as Clara is on the whole very good. She's confident and assured, but vulnerable at the same time, unlike in series 8 and 9, where Clara is just patronising. A decent episode that won't win any awards. I'm going to give Bells of St. John a 7 out of 10. Thank you. Oh, and sorry about those pesky crows.
Do you know what? I thought I was listening to the opening of a Wurzel Gummidge episode.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought it was in 10 Acre Field.
10 Acre Field.
Live from 10 Acre Field.
Yeah.
They sounded like they were going mad, those crows.
So, Joe says, not a classic. Not a classic.
Not going to win any awards.
Not going to win any awards, yeah.
Stephen at home. Stephen Moffat at home with the old wine. There's no awards coming, Stephen. Oh, pop another bottle.
Yeah. It's just a myriad of wine bottle corks all over the floor. Door shut.
No awards, just empty bottles.
Yeah. Wife comes in. Come on, Stephen. This has got to stop. Beep off. Thank you very much, Joe. So I think Joe kind of liked that one mostly, but felt that Matt's performance wasn't on par as he normally expects it to be, which is fair enough. And lastly, this is TARDISnet 66.
So Bells of St. John isn't that great. The concept of people being downloaded into the Wi-Fi and hacking the emotions of others through technology is interesting to see, and I think Miss Kislet is strong as a villain if underutilised, but it never feels like it's utilised to its full potential, or like the concept it's given has much threat or scare factor. I think Matt Smith is strong in this episode and manages to elevate it, and I love his scene of him changing clothes and leaving the jumping dodgers out for Clara. But this is when his character starts going down the creep direction, creepily looking through her things, which you just don't do. But the failure of the story is its focus on the over-importance and over-obsession around the mystery of Clara. I really grew to like Clara as a character in Series 8 and 9 with Capaldi's Doctor, but in Series 7 I really hate her. She's bland and has no characteristics, aside from the fact that she fancies the Doctor and constantly annoyingly flirts with him, which becomes uncomfortable and grating. And as an introduction to this version of the character, you really don't get a strong idea of who she is. I'd give it a 5 out of 10.
Oof.
5, oof.
I just love TN's honesty, like right out the traps. Like, this is not a great one, is it?
I guess I imagine them off at home listening to the podcast. Oh, well, never mind. Let's hear the next review. And it starts with, well, it's not great, is it? Oh.
Yeah, TN not feeling this one with a 5, eh?
I like that Jamie Dodger scene there. That's a lovely moment.
Yeah, that's good.
Another lovely moment.
Yeah. I guess that's the summary for the episode, mate. It's got a series of lovely moments. It's got a series of cool moments, but
they just don't all come together.
Yeah. That was the audio reviewers. Anyway, thank you guys so much as always for all that. Very much appreciated. Over on the tweets, let's rattle through some of these. So Jordan Shortman, our writer, says, not a particular favourite of mine, as I don't like Series 7. It's a shame we got this Clara as the Victorian version of her, which was much better as a choice of companion. And Jenna Coleman's performance is snooty from the beginning.
Yeah.
But the Great Intelligence is pretty cool. Doctor Who Home says it's a fine story. I think Moffat himself described this as just plain average. It's not bad by any means, but it will never stand out. It doesn't introduce main Clara very well. I don't think Moffat was bothered again. I think the plot would have been better with The Wire instead.
Yeah, it could have worked.
Could have done. Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah.
Morgan McCandless. It's a good introduction to the second half of Series 7, even if it's not the best. I've always found this a fun watch. It's good to see 11 back in action after losing the Ponds. Celia Imrie is a great villain, and I adore Matt's new look. 7 quadricycles out of 10.
Nice. Cheers, Morgs.
Cheers, Morgs. Chippy T. If any Doctor couldn't do a monastic retreat, it's Matt. He's just too busy with ideas, twisting hands, twirling around. A good idea of people being hacked and randomly speaking unusual ways, but not always does it pay off. Sure, Pertwee mentions anti-grav stuff. Enjoyable, 7.5. Thank you.
7.5.
Tin and Sonic, fun, silly, and very Doctor Who. All the things I look for in a series opener. Matt's new costume is just amazing, and my favourite look for 11 too. 7.5. Cool. Okay, yeah.
Likes the look.
Sam says this one is fun. Some of the visuals look ridiculous in parts, but overall it's really enjoyable with some great tracks from Murray. 7 out of 10.
Cool, another 7.
Yep. Sarah Louise, a running Whovian, says Matt is an absolute pleasure to watch in this, and Jenna compliments him well. The spoonheads are suitably creepy, and the story provides a good lesson referencing our increasing reliance on internet connections and the info we divulge on socials. Yep, very good point, Sarah. Also, love the long scarf in the hall. 8 out of 10.
Oh, what was that? I must have missed that.
Scarf in the hall.
Long scarf in the hall. Was Baker's scarf hanging up or something?
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
Oh, I didn't notice.
Time, yeah. Thank you, Sarah. And lastly, Brian Chapman says the Bells of St. John, along with the 2 previous Oswin/Clara stories, serves a good introduction to the Impossible Girl story arc. Clara's TARDIS entry scene with the airplane rescue is one of my all-time favourite moments. 8 snog boxes out of 10.
Yeah.
Snog boxes. And over on Facebook, some of these, like I always say, they are quite long, so I'm not going to read through all of them. So if you guys want to see and comment on these other reviews, then just head over to the Facebook page. But Aaron Ball says, a fun story. Very average, but Matt is on top form. Jenna is fun, and the Wi-Fi being the monster is a very modern idea. The kids were annoying, to be honest. Typical in Moffat's era, but underrated. 7.5 Wi-Fi routers out of 10. Toby Coleman says, despite the Beeb saying it's a series opener, I think it is a better opener than Asylum of the Daleks. It goes on to give it 8 out of 10. Lou Gallagher says decent. Hello, by the way, chaps. It's been a blooming long time since I commented, with a lot of going on. No worries, Lou. I recognise that name, from a couple of years ago now. I think you used to be a regular reviewer, so I hope you're doing well. Goes on to say that it's a bit of an idiot's retreated lantern, but I do like the general urban thriller vibe and atmosphere of the story. Goes on to give it a 6 out of 10. Harry, our writer, says very slick and action-packed. I remember it exciting me for the rest of the 50th anniversary season. If it were up to me, I'd have opted for fork heads instead of spoon heads. Would have been more menacing. 6 out of 10 from Harry.
Cool.
Joseph Howarth, I feel like this is a pretty good episode, even if season 7 is not one of my fave of the new series. Jenna Coleman definitely did have chemistry with the Doctor as Clara. Just a shame they turned her into something worse come Capaldi's time on the show. Goes on to give it an 8 out of 10 though. Jeffrey Waddle says the great intelligence is never quite realised as an all-powerful threat, and despite some good scenes, it's a bit underwhelming and only makes an above-average episode due to the ever-watchable Matt Smith. He goes on to give it 6 out of 10.
Cool.
Charlie Turner always wondered what the Idiot's Lantern would be like as a better story. Well, the Bells of St. John is my answer. It's not perfect, but despite the random name that this episode has, I would say it's a pretty good episode, 8 out of 10. And lastly, Andrew Stewart says, I watched this the other week with my dad in Scotland, so it's pretty fresh in my mind. I think the story is really interesting and one that I think is very clever. I know a lot of people don't really like Series 7, but I do. I think it's a brilliant opener to Part 2. And goes on to give it an 8.5 out of 10.
Sweet.
So, yeah, I think the average score, dude, is like a 7.5, 8 maybe.
Yeah, I was going to say around a 7. I know. Was it Charlie said about the mothball and his strange titles as well? Bella St. John, it is an odd title. He does that a lot, doesn't he? The Witch is familiar. I mean, it's like cryptic, trying to work out how they relate to the episode sometimes. Yeah. But this one, you're right, it's the badge, which is pretty cool.
Indeedy, yes. So thank you to all of you that have contributed with reviews and stuff. As always, it's much appreciated. Next week, dude, what have we got?
Yeah, so we'll be back to Torchwood, Series 2. Still on it. Torchwood is an episode called Adrift.
Adrift. Yeah. So I think this one, if I remember correctly, there's a lot of tension between Gwen and Jack in that one. I think she wants to go off and investigate and do a missing persons thing, and he's like, no, you're not going to do it. And there's a bit of to-in and throw-in.
Oh, she just knees him in the knackers and gets on with it.
Yeah. So, interesting times then. So, Torchwood.
Okay.
Next week, as we get... The light is at the end of the tunnel. It's getting larger and larger every week. We either review it or we say it's coming up. So, yeah. And I think we'll wrap there, dude. And let's stick a pin in it for 3:20.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you for coming back and listening to another week of the Big Blue Box podcast. It's been great to have you here as always. Those of you that have just discovered the show, if this is your first time listening or recently, then it's great to have you. Those of you that have come back from a long time ago, the Grizzled Ancient, good to have you here as well. It's good to have everyone back for another week for 320. Next week, as Adam said, we're back to Torchwood for the episode called Adrift, so get your Blu-rays ready or BBC iPlayer. I know Torchwood's still on there, so get that watched because we'll be asking for your thoughts as always. And thank you so much again to our reviewers for this week, The Bells of St. John, whether you sent in an audio clip or you commented on the socials. It's much appreciated. Thank you for that. In the meantime, remember to follow us or subscribe on whatever podcast app you listen to your podcasts on. You can listen to us for free. Every show lands every Friday morning here in the UK. So make sure you do that so you don't miss an episode. And if you've got a minute to leave us a review or a rating for the show, if you like the show, that would be awesome. That helps us out loads and loads. And we're on the socials too. Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. You can find links to those over on the website, which is bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. So as long as linking off to those things, you can also listen to every episode. And you can also check out all of the cool reviews and articles from our writing team. Those very talented bunch of peeps there, so go and check out their stuff. And we have a free Discord server as well, link on the website. Come and sign up to that. It takes just 30 seconds to do that. And you can come and hang out and chat. Plenty of Doctor Who with plenty of other Doctor Who fans. Also, remember to check out Adam's channel over on YouTube. It is, of course, The Geek's Handbag.
Geek's Handbag, yeah. Plenty of merchandise and location videos and all sorts, mostly related to Doctor Who. Used to do the odd Star Wars one, but they didn't get half the views, so I just stuck to Doctor Who.
Loads of cool stuff though on Adam's channel, so get a cuppa, go and settle in and check out loads of videos, and he's on the socials too under the same name, The Geek's Handbag.
That's right.
Until next time, my name's Gary.
My name's Adam,
and remember